Okay, here is where I articulate my disagreement with Jorjani in terms of ethics. And this is actually going to go a little bit deeper, so I'm going to slow down even more. To boil it down, to boil the disagreement down into the simplest terms I can, Jorjani sees the distinction Jorjani sees plurality and its union with the one as a plurality that is expressed within an infinitely extended substance. So to use an analogy, imagine Jorjani's view as follows. You have, let's call it this cosmic a lot of people like to use analogies of the infinite consciousness, right? Using the ocean and saying, just imagine an infinite ocean in all directions. Everything is the same. There's no differentiation. Well, in this case, there is differentiation. So imagine it, instead of as an ocean, imagine it as cosmic cookie dough. Cookie dough that's been completely flattened out by a rolling pin. It's infinite in all directions. But there are impressions within the cookie dough that distinguish parts of the cookie dough from other parts of the cookie dough, right? So you go to the store, you buy gingerbread man cutouts. You buy Christmas tree cutouts, lots of different shapes that you can impress into the cookie dough. That's how Jorjani conceives of plurality within the one. So it's not a uniform oneness. It's a non-uniform oneness, but that non-uniformity takes place within a single substance. And my argument is, first off, you can't account for why there should even be different impressions within consciousness to begin with on that view, or account for how those impressions become manifest as corporealized entities in the manifest realm, or the realm of duality or polarity. Manifest duality and polarity. I, on the other hand, can account for that, in that I don't see the sum of all existence, or the sum of reality, as constitutive of a single substance that simply changes form. I see the singular, undivided, indivisible, non-composite reality as consisting of two aspects, two different aspects. That nevertheless together constitute the indivisibility of the person of God, in such a way that their distinctiveness cannot be reduced to an absolute duality. So those two things are the Spirit of God and the body of God. The body of God being consciousness, which is infinite in all directions, and out of which the manifest realm comes. The Spirit of God, the nous or mind, is the essence of the very identity of the divine person as a whole, inclusive of the body. Because without the body, with just the nous by itself, you still wouldn't have a person. With the body, the nous is a person, the nous, only with the body can the nous be the essence of the identity of the person. Now, so that distinction that makes up the indivisible person of God is the ground upon which, the presuppositional ground, it's what you have to presuppose, the ground upon which it is even possible for the manifest realm to exist, to get the eternal distinction between God as the cause and the manifest realm as the caused production of his activity. There must be a prior distinction within the divine person between his spirit and his body. Otherwise, you're left either with a monistic substance, such as Jason Jorjani has, even though he still accounts for distinction in some sense. It's an impersonalized distinction, so he's still only dealing with one substance, even though he has a distinction of impressions within that substance, like we just talked about with the analogy of the cookie dough. But he still can't account for how they got there, how the impressions got there in the first place, why they're there, and how they become manifest in a new way in terms of corporealized, localized, individualized entities. The person of God is uncreated. So there must be an uncreated principle of distinction within the person in order that there can then derive a manifest realm, so that there can then be a distinction between God as the cause and the effects of his causing. Again, otherwise, God would just be a monistic substance, and you could not account for how anything could come into being in the first place. Or the reverse, you would have to take a radically pluralistic view, where there is no way to account for any principle of ontological unity, in which the plural objects and beings have a direct relationship with each other. You could not account for their directly relating. So without divine personalism, you're stuck with a false dialectic between monism or pluralism. And the reason that is because you're then forced to deal with the question of reality within the arena of impersonal substances or objects. When you deal with something that's impersonal, you can only have plural impersonal objects or a single monistic substance. Only with a person can you have a seemingly dual distinction that nevertheless constitutes the very principle of unity in God that is indivisible, and which accounts for the subsequent distinction of his manifest creating. All right, that's the best I could do. Tell me if that makes sense.